full-time MMA?
MMA.
Nothing
Yeah.
else?
My life, man, yeah.
Or is this full-time MMA now?
I love full-time MMA right now.
Back to the daily grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to subscribe if you're new and hook your boy up with a like if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time
MMA.
Here we go again. Cris Cyborg versus the UFC. Cris Cyborg is pissed off again and she's voicing her displeasure with the UFC by telling the world on Twitter, I'm canceling my meeting with the UFC for next week. They want to pay me less money to fight Holly Holm than I made to fight Tanya Evinger. And how the fuck does that make sense? Because who the fuck is that girl? Or she stopped at Tanya Evinger. But that's pretty much what she's saying. She's saying Holly Holm is a lot better than Tanya Evinger at this point in her career. I mean, the entire world knows Holly Holm. She was the first girl to fucking dethrone Ronda Rousey. So how are you telling me you're going to give me less money to fight the bigger star than you gave me to fight Tanya Evinger, who was coming up from a different organization, different weight class? I mean, I know about Invicta, but I know a lot of casual fans don't. I knew about Tanya Evinger, but I know the casual fans don't got a fucking clue. I mean, unless you're a local or something that goes to those fights or whatever the fuck, but you get the point. Holly Holm is Holly Holm. Whether she's on a lose, she could have been on a 3-fight losing streak and been a bigger star at that point versus Cris Cyborg. There's going to be more pay-per-view buys versus Holm. Oh shit, Cris Cyborg, I just realized Cris Cyborg's fucking name is #UFC 219 Cyborg vs. Holm. Wow, that would be a great fight, but maybe she's speaking too soon. You doing that is letting the UFC knows you're campaigning for that fight. So if they know you want that fight, they know that they can pay you less. I mean, that's just common sense. That's just real life. If I know you want something, it's supply and demand. Oh, you want this? Well, I can charge you just a little bit more or pay you just a little bit less. It's just that simple. So maybe she's speaking too soon, changing her fucking Twitter name to UFC 219 Cyborg vs. Holm. Because now the meeting's canceled. You didn't even get to go fucking to the meeting. I don't know how. I mean, she got word that they were going to pay Holly Holm, or they were going to pay her less to fight Holly Holm, and it's on a bigger card. So how the fuck does that make sense? I mean, UFC 214 was huge, but UFC 219 is the end of the year card. It's huge. Conor McGregor might come back on that card. I mean, it's not likely. He said he would if he didn't have to do any media. But still, the UFC always has a huge end of the year show. December 30th, we know Dominic Cruz versus Jimmy Rivera is on that card. I mean, December 30th, I can guarantee you already is going to be a huge card. Now, in saying that, I did realize UFC 214 was pretty fucking big. John Jones versus Daniel Cormier, Tyron Woodley versus Damian Maia. But at the same time, how are you going to pay Cris Cyborg less money to fight Holly Holm than Tanya Evinger? Even if, Cris Cyborg's blowing her load a little too early and letting them know, hey, this is what I want, so they can say, all right, well, hey. I mean, but offer her the same money. She just wants to fight. I didn't hear about her wanting a raise. I mean, she probably wants the pay-per-view points worked in there because she's a champion, but that doesn't sound like that's her gripe. I'm sure if she's on UFC 219, she's getting pay-per-view points as being a champion. But the thing is, what was it? Because it was her first title fight? I mean, to me, this really doesn't make much sense. Why Cris Cyborg would be offered less money to fight Holly Holm, a bigger star, on a just as big, if not bigger card than Tanya Evinger. We'll probably get more details for this next week on the MMA Hour because, this came out the fucking day of. So we'll probably get clarification soon. I do want to see Cris Cyborg versus Holly Holm. That would be a great fight. Even, because one thing about Holly Holm is she underrated a lot because she tends to make fights boring. I mean, to me, she's like the female Stephen Wonderboy Thompson because they're a counter striker. If you don't play their game, it's probably going to be a boring fight because they're not going to rush you. They're not going to walk you down. They're not going to shoot for a takedown on you. They're not trying to choke you out. They're not trying to really get in the clinch with you. They're really just waiting for you to walk them down so they can fucking throw some strikes at you, walking them down. So if you're not gonna walk Holly Holm down, or if you're not going to walk Stephen Wonderboy Thompson down, then it's probably not going to be a boring fight. But the thing about Cris Cyborg, she's going to walk Holly Holm down, because Holly Holm's a little bit smaller than her, just like all the people that fight Cris Cyborg, which is crazy. I really don't understand how the UFC is having such troubles finding 145-pound women. I really don't fucking get it. It's 2017, motherfucker. There's so many there's just so many chicks out here, and MMA is to the point. Female MMA, I don't know, it just seems pretty insane. I mean, we know we've got like Megan Anderson out there. We know we've got a 145-pound women division over in Invicta. How is there none? I just don't get it. Even if it's not stacked in the beginning, I don't get how the UFC hasn't been adding no female flyweights, unless they just don't plan on keeping that division around for long. But it's really getting to the point to where it's almost a little bit of a joke. Cris Cyborg keeps fighting these 135-pound bantamweights. I mean, even though Holly Holm's got a better chance than a lot of these girls, because Cris Cyborg's gonna play into her game plan, and I mean, she could shock the world again like she did versus Ronda Rousey. Knock her out when she comes. That would be crazy. Oh my god, that would be like Bisping if he beats George St. Pierre. If he was able to beat George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva, if Holly Holm was able to beat Ronda Rousey and Cris Cyborg, it would just be hilarious. But with that being said, Cyborg's mad at the UFC again. We don't know if we're getting Cris Cyborg at UFC 219, which is a little ridiculous, especially with the fact that they need title fights. But Cris Cyborg, I mean, to be fair, she's always fucking pissed off at the UFC, so this might get solved in a week, which is, I hope Cyborg vs. Holmes happen. But we still got to hear from Holly Holm. Hey, do you want the Cyborg fight UFC 219? Are you down with that? There's a lot of shit that has to happen for UFC 219. Cris Cyborg versus Holm at this point is very far from done. I mean, at this point, it might not happen. She's not even meeting with the UFC next week. It's in two months. The fight's in 2 months, 3 months. Fucking, you're not even meeting with the UFC. We're not here. I mean, Holly Holm and Cris Cyborg, they've talked about it before, and I'm pretty sure Holly Holm's coaches at one point were not down with the Cris Cyborg fight. Now, I think they've came out recently and said, oh, maybe she could do it. But what is Holly Holm saying? We know Holly Holm's not just going to come out and bitch out and say, oh, no, I'll never fight her. I'll never fight her. She's too big for me. She would beat me. But it'll be interesting to see if she does have some sort of excuse or reason to not fight Cyborg. Maybe it's because she says, I'm not a 145-pounder. Maybe if she wants to fight me 135, I'll whoop her ass. Want to come to 140? We can get it going. But we know Cris Cyborg has fucking trouble even making 140. So, with that being said, it is what it is. Let the haters know what the fuck you think about Cris Cyborg versus Holly Holm in the comments. Because I'm out. I've got a serious question. You know that moment when you put your steak on the grill and your mouth waters all over from the amazing smell? Do you vegans feel the same when you mow the grass?
Bye, Felicia.